Well, hello and good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. In case you thought I would ease you in to tonight's proceedings very, very gently, you're completely wrong. I'm gonna shake you. Hey, wait, are you here? Are you here on this Thursday night where I'm recording live on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. For all those who can and cannot join, but those who cannot join aren't here. I don't do it necessarily. Well, I mean, I can do it for those who can join. Maybe they just can't join because they're busy tonight, which is entirely possible. You know, maybe they have a full schedule. Look, I'm already going off track. It doesn't really matter because that's part and parcel here. But the important thing is that I'm happy that you are all here watching us. When I say us, it's like I don't have a team. There's not a group of people who put this show together. It's just me. But I am thrilled that you guys are here live tonight on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes because, as I said, we record live and we've got another wonderful group of people who are here right straight off the gate, right off the bat, joining us immediately. Right here on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. We got Robert Larry who's here. How you doing, Robert? Kelly Tones as well. Hello, Kelly. Good to see you. Our boy Tim Traver. Good to see you, Tim. Welcome. As well, we've got Ben Fentamark82. Follow him on his Facebook. And well, yes, he has a Facebook page as well where Ben provides he provides music for the show. If you watch live, you get to hear his music on the pre-stream, on the pre-roll, I should say, as we get warmed up for the show. Ben helps us here. He does the music for the Weekly Wrestling Inspection. Ben's a cool guy, has his own music channel out there. You should check it out. The link is in the description. And he also has a Facebook page. Check it out. It's a good way to say thank you, Phantomark82, for all the fantastic music wares that you produce. I shall follow you. Go. Where was I? Mr. Fretz! Good to see you as well. Flowman, nice to see you as well. There we go. And fifth generation Carney Joseph with it. Hello. Look at all these fantastic people. You can join us live on Thursday nights, and if you can't, that's fine. You can listen to this on demand whenever you like. And the cool thing is that you can join me at any you can join this live, that's it, at any given moment. And if you're watching on YouTube right now, whether it's live, whether it's not, you can hit the like button, and by doing that you will show just a little bit of support. You'll tell YouTube, hey, yay, we like this video, you should push it a little more. And that I appreciate a great deal. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application, thank you as well. And, show some love there through a review, a like, a favorite, a subscription, a follow, whatever you can do over on your favorite podcast app, whether it be Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Stitcher, or whichever you use. A little love there as well. That is also muy apreciado. That's not a word, but I appreciate it, whether it's a real word or not. Thank you, everyone, for that already. DGMC just joined us in the chat. Good to see you. Welcome, sir. And yeah, so there we go. Also, don't forget to follow Bell to Bells, your women's wrestling wire, belltobells.com, BELLTOBELLES.com, or follow us on Twitter as well for all your women's wrestling related stuff. That's fantastic. It's always fantastic. And you can also join the Mr. Warren Hayes Show Discord. We talk about wrestling. There's some live watching that happens there. Link is in the description for that as well. That is also fantastic. I realized I forgot to put the streak count up to 12. I have been doing, there we go, it's updated now, a streak, a comment streak, where on each of these videos here that I do, if we get 20 comments over the next 20 videos, I will do or more. You know, we don't have to stop at 20. But if we get 20 comments or more in the next 20 videos, I'll do, there'll be a reward. There'll be a little something out of the ordinary that I'll be doing. And I'll be cooking. This is the reward for the 20. I'm going to be cooking a recipe from the WWE Attitude Era cookbook. Can You Take the Heat cookbook, right? The order that I had found it. I had found an order, or I had found the book and I ordered it, but the place that I had ordered it from canceled my order and was like, well, it turns out we had indicated on our website that it was in stock, but in reality, it's not in stock. So I'm still looking for the book, but I haven't given up. And this is still I still want to do this. I still want to cook a full meal. You know, like maybe, like I said, an appetizer, an entree. I don't know if they have desserts. An appetizer, a main course. I don't know if they have like desserts. I'll have to see. I'll skim through the book. But honestly, I thought at this point I'd actually have the book. Crossing my fingers. I haven't given up, but I'm still looking. But at this point, I'm disappointed because I thought I had the book. I thought I had secured it. But I'll find another way. Don't you worry. I'll figure it out. Also, you can if you're here live or whatever, you can whenever. It doesn't matter if you're here live, but if you are here live and you enjoy coming to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show live, why don't you consider becoming a member? It's a good deal, is what I'm trying to say. If you like to come and join me live, if you become a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel, you get a bunch of emotes that you can use during the live chat, which is fantastic. Plus, you get to join me and the rest of the members immediately after I'm done here on the main stream for the post stream, which is for members only, where we discuss a whole bunch of wrestling topics. And I chat a lot with you. We take, obviously through the chat, I talk with you guys who are in the chat, but we also take Discord calls. And that happens every Thursday, immediately after the Mr. Warren Hayes Show proper. So do consider joining, becoming a member. It's a pretty good way to show some support as well. And tonight, we're having open mic night. Maybe not open mic night, but we're having open topics night. Busy, not a big news week per se, as some weeks we do get in wrestling, where you have these huge events that happen. That's the talk of the town, but lots of little things happening. So I wasn't sure exactly what we should talk about like as one topic, but if you come to the show tonight, you can bring your topic. We'll talk about it. We'll discuss it. It'll be a good time. Those are for members. Come on in, become a member. It's fantastic. And you can also leave a super chat right here as we are recording live. And I will read your question, comment, mood, temporal status. About anything. And we've got some topics tonight. We've got, we're going to be talking about the week in wrestling, of course, and all of that. Of course, we're going to be talking about the week in wrestling. That's what we do here. But I'm really excited. That you guys are going to be. I'm really excited that you guys are here. And if you want to jump in with some comments via super chat, you're more than welcome. I want to say hello to Pretty Flaxco. Just joined us in the chat. And on that note, we're going to start with the weekly wrestling inspection. Here we go. Let's start this off this week with some, how about we start with some cool beans? Because I'm going back into my, I'm going into the, what's the word I'm looking for? My old habits here. And I'm going into my old habits and starting off with some New Japan. There's not much. I haven't been talking all that much about New Japan. I know I talked about the gauntlet, the Young Lions gauntlet over the past few weeks, which is something that was really interesting, and I was really excited to be able to speak on it. But the Kizuna Road tour was fine, but like ultimately there's nothing super newsworthy that came out of it. There weren't any matches that blew your mind that came out of it either, and it's fine. It's just one of these tours where stuff just happens, ultimately, and that's okay. Not every match or not every tour is going to be something special. But the gauntlet did wrap up for our boys Yota Tsuji and Yuya Uemura, and the last gauntlet match that I'm going to talk about is the one that Uemura got against Shingo Takagi, who is, of course, the current IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, and on top of that, my pick for Wrestler of the Year. This was a highlight match. It was really, really good. Again, just the whole series of gauntlet matches for these two young lions was fantastic. There were some real highlights to it all. It was just really, really cool. And here, Uemura, he knew what he was getting into. And he knew he had to be aggressive coming into this match because he wanted respect from the champ, right? He wanted respect, not necessarily win. Like, I think, of course, he would have liked to win, but he didn't. I don't think he came into the match saying, I'm pulling out a victory here. Like, at least get respect, right? But Shingo just beats the hell out of the kid. Just completely ruins the kid. I mean, it's not like Uemura didn't do anything. He got some great drop kicks in, had one of his fantastic German suplexes with a bridge, like great stuff. And he gets slapped around so hard by our boy Shingo, and he starts bleeding from the mouth. And it's a pumping bomber that puts him away, which is fine. It's like, it's not Shingo's finisher. It's one of his signature moves, and I think it's okay. Works perfectly here. But here's the thing. The thing that made this really, really fun is what happened after the match. After the match, Shingo's he's giving him taps on the kid's chest. He's knocked loopy. He's selling the pin. And he's telling him to get up. And Uemura, he's been beat. His bell is rung. He's just trying his best to get back up on his feet. He's holding on to Shingo's trunks to lift himself up. And he can barely stand on his feet. When he does get up, he's a little dizzy. He gets up and he shoves Shingo. And Shingo's like, all right, and Uemura falls back down to his knees. Shingo doesn't retaliate. He's like, all right, kid, and he's like, and he goes like this. He points to his head. He's like, I'll remember this. You just wait, brother. And Shingo leaves the ring, and as he's out of the ring after he got his hand raised and everything, he applauds, like he's applauding the effort that Uemura did, and gets the audience into it. And it was, and Shingo's just not Shingo, but Uemura's just looking at him. He's like, one day, man, I'm gonna kick your ass, and that is fantastic. It's such awesome stuff. And here's the thing: I know I talk a lot here on the podcast on how much wrestling storytelling is good, right? How good wrestling storytelling is when it's confined to the ring. Like, you don't need 8-minute promos to start your shows. You don't need these incredibly topsy-turvy storylines. You just need wrestlers telling wrestling stories in a ring. I talk about that a lot. And if you're never quite sure what I mean when I talk about those types of matches. I highly suggest you go watch that one. Go watch Shingo versus Uemura, July 2nd, I believe. Go check it out. And the thing is, it's available for free on New Japan World. So you don't even have to pay the subscription. You don't even have to go onto YouTube and get, one of these weird blown up videos so that it doesn't get pulled off, struck down off of YouTube by New Japan or whatever. It's really, because the story here is that Uemura wanted respect. He wanted Shingo to respect him. He got it, but at the end he's like, "Nah, I wanted more. I'm not done. I still have more to give." And the payoff to the story will definitely not be next year. Probably won't even be in 2 years. Hell, it could be 5-6 years down the road. But that's what makes New Japan so compelling, is they'll set these moments in time, like Nexus events. And they'll call back to the history between these wrestlers to allow the story to be told. It's fantastic stuff. It really is fantastic stuff. It was a fun match, short, like a 14-minute match, 13-minute, 14-minute match, something like that. Good stuff. You should definitely check it out. And the other big announcement that came, the other big announcement, it's not as if there was another big announcement, but the big announcement that came from New Japan this week is that the G1, the dates have been announced. That is correct. September 18 is going to be the first evening of the G1. It's going to be in Osaka, with the finals taking place on October 21st. Budokan Hall is going to be the recipient of the G1 finals. September this year, because of the Olympics, usually it's more of a summertime thing. So my autumn sleep schedule will already be all screwed up. But I'm excited. This is good. The one thing, I guess, which sort of bums me out, but I also understand in the context of, it's not necessarily easy. The one thing that does bum me out is that when the G1 was announced for last year, we were supposed to get some G1 dates in North America, in the United States specifically. There was supposed to be some G1 happening in the US. It's a shame that it's not going to happen like that this year, but that's okay. I mean, look, New Japan has had a hell of a time trying to adapt to COVID. I think it's like they've done everything they could, putting their protocols in place, making sure everyone stayed safe. They still managed to get an outbreak despite having some very, very, apparently very severe COVID protocols installed for New Japan staff, for the talent. They still got an outbreak earlier this year when the cases started to explode again in Japan. So, I can understand that they're like, nah, you know what? We're not going to start risking booking some stuff in North America when we're not even sure how things are going to be going yet. I can understand. But hopefully, it'd be really cool if there were some G1 action that was going to return to North America eventually. It would be really cool. I want to say hello to Aaron Entertainment. Good to see you. And Anakin JMT as well. Hello. Who also left us a super chat. Thank you very much. Anakin says, obligatory DGMC is a coward super chat. Yes, it is obligatory because I've been told that DGMC is indeed a coward. Black Widow tomorrow and Loki finale next week. Apparently, we're already on the tail end of Loki. Who, by perchance, Loki is one of the Loki show created Marvel's brand new superstar in Alligator Loki. Absolutely fantastic. So he says, Black Widow tomorrow and Loki finale next week, plus stacked Fighter Fest. Hose me down, Warren. I know. Got ourselves a good night one of Fighter Fest coming on next week. Jon Moxley versus Machine Gun Carl Anderson for the IWGP US title. That's good shit, pal. That's good shit. I really, really like it. I'm very excited for that match. I'm telling you guys right now. And live crowds, Moxley, forget about it. It's going to be an explosive one. Dad Moxley on top of that. His first match since becoming a dad. Good for him. Let's move on to the world of WWE. I'm going to start by talking about SmackDown, if that's all right with y'all. So Edge is he cut a promo on SmackDown last Friday. The whole Edge thing, and I was out sick last week, quite unfortunately. So I wasn't able to talk about his surprise return. So I'm going to try and shoehorn my thoughts about his return and into, look, it's going to be a big mishmash of it both. Bear with me here. I think that the return of Edge to this particular storyline is probably the most disappointing aspect of this angle that they had started, where Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns were saying there's no one left to beat on SmackDown, which was true. And it still is true, because Roman beat Edge. And when you're setting up an angle where you're talking about, hey, you know what? Right now we're looking at the roster. We've got no one left to beat on SmackDown. So who's the next person coming in? Then you're sort of expecting a surprise, a swerve, a twist. But having a guy who was beaten at WrestleMania, which is still very fresh, come back and be like, hey, you know what? I still deserve a rematch. You're like, no, you don't. You don't. You lost in the main event at WrestleMania, and you haven't done jack shit since. I'm going to tear you down. I'm going to end your reign. I'm going to knock you off your throne. Whatever it was, knock you off the table. I'm going to flip the table. I'm going to put you at the end of the table, not the head of the table. I don't remember what he said. One of those analogies. I'm going to get your goat. Is that what? And it's a letdown. And frankly, it's a letdown. And because it's not as if the Edge thing really worked out well for WWE when it came to WrestleMania. I am of the opinion that Daniel Bryan wasn't added into the WrestleMania main event because it felt like a good idea, you know? It was because the Edge thing wasn't working and wasn't generating the excitement or the attention that that WWE was expecting, you know? That's what I think. I sincerely believe that. And I mean, I'm sorry, but you know, Edge's promo work has been extremely one note. It's been one note. Coming in like he's angry, bitter, remorseful. Not remorseful. What's the resentful. Every time. You know, and he's, you know, and he delivers his lines always, you know, chin down, eyes up, you know, because, you know, when you look at someone like this, it's much more menacing. And it's always the same thing. I mean, it's not like, you know, it kind of stinks because I think you could do something else with Edge then put him in a main event spot. And I will also put forth that Edge is not as big a star as WWE would like us to believe he is, if that makes sense. Like, I think they put him, they're pushing him as this legendary top guy when, don't get me wrong, main eventer, had a Hall of Fame worthy career, did more in the business than a fraction of his peers have. But like, I've never perceived Edge as a draw, as a guy where you're like legitimate, but that's just me, right? And I've never perceived him as a draw, someone you get really excited about seeing wrestle again. I don't know. I mean, good for him if he's getting some more reps in, at this stage of his career. I guess we could still call it that, but I don't know. It just, there's sort of an aura of disappointment around all this thing. There's a ton of stuff WWE I feel could have done outside of going back to a well that hasn't even dried up yet. I think you get towards Survivor Series, towards the end of the year, and Edge pops back up and he says, Roman, we have unfinished business. And you're like, yeah, okay, all right, But this just feels desperate. And I think it helps underscore that WWE has no real plan for Roman, for Roman's reign, outside of him holding on to the title for a long, long time. And to hell who comes along in the meantime. I don't know. Like, why aren't we running Cesaro again? If we're going to run a program again, why are we running Edge again? Why couldn't we be running Cesaro again? And I don't think, here's the thing, is that there's not a person on this planet right now who would roll their eyes and say, ugh, Cesaro again. Not after the match they had a couple of months ago at WrestleMania Backlash. It's a legitimate match of the year candidate. Probably Walter hasn't wrestled his main event match of the year yet. He hasn't. But like, you all know that in WWE, though, these match of the year candidates, they're few and far between. And this one is practically a consensus that it will end up on tons of lists because it was fantastic. So as a wrestling viewing audience member, I'd be like, yeah, let's run Roman Reigns and Cesaro again. If you're going to go back to the well, to a feud that we've just had, or a match that we've just had within the last quarter, let's do it again. If we're going to do that, let's go with the better choice, the more entertaining match. Anyway, they don't listen to me. Shinsuke Nakamura and Big E defeated Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews. This was just not good. It was just not good. Stupid shenanigan distraction with the car being repoed. This is dumb. And I need someone, like in the real world, I need someone to explain to me how suddenly, because Baron Corbin loses a toy crown, because it's what it is, because of a made-up title in a company, his investments are at the door and he's going broke. Like, it doesn't even connect with me. I like the sad Corbin idea. I kind of like it. I think it's kind of stupid, but it's, in the good way stupid, but I don't understand this. And if they want to make the sad Corbin thing, couldn't they do it without having to drag down 3 other guys with them who are all technically on an upswing? Apollo, as IC champion, probably the most serious push that he's had in a while, outside the fact that they seem to be pushing Babatunde more than him, or giving him more spotlight. Anyway, Shinsuke hasn't been this revitalized in a while. Big E seems to be like he's been teetering on this position where it's just like WWE all they have to do is, literally just push him. Just like, okay, go. We're good. But they sort of bring him back, and it's like, no, you're going to lose a couple of matches. Okay, we're going to put you here, but yeah, they're going to be in this tag team, and like it's kind of stupid. Let's do some cool beans when it comes to SmackDown. I think the idea of Bianca and Bayley having another match is, but them going with an I Quit match, cool. I like that. I like it more than the idea of the Hell in a Cell, and I think it'll probably work better with these two ladies. I can get behind this idea of an I Quit match between Bayley and Bianca Belair. I Quit matches are still somewhat of a novelty in WWE. We don't see them all that frequently, and when they happen, they feel special. Don't tell anyone in WWE I said that, because the next thing you know, we're going to have I Quit pay-per-views. We're going to have 6 I Quit matches on the pay-per-view. I Quit matches, what you need for them to work is 2 wrestlers who are just ready to get really physical with each other, which I think Bayley is not afraid of that. I think Bianca is ready to dish it out. That's the first thing you need. The second thing you need is time. If they give this if they're given 12 minutes to do this on the pay-per-view, it's not going to work. It's a fucking I Quit match. Anyway, I think it's a good idea. Keep the cool beans going, though. Because the last man standing match between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn ruled. I think this was one of WWE's best TV matches this year. I'm not jumping the gun and saying this is a match of the year candidate, but this is a wholly and highly entertaining television match that you can watch on a Friday night for free on your local Fox affiliate. If there's one thing that Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are always capable to do, is make their matches feel important, that they hate each other. And that's the impetus of everything they do, is that they just do not like each other, regardless of their incarnations, whether KO's the heel and Sami's the babyface, or vice versa as it is right now. It's a constant grudge match with these two, and it works every goddamn time. Physical match from the get-go. KO gets a early on swanton off the barricade to the floor onto Sami. He puts Sammy. He puts Sami through onto the commentary table, right? And Sami and he goes up to the barricade to jump off of it, but then Sami gets off and he flips him onto the table. Now, I'm speaking on this specifically because you know how I tell you, sometimes it's the little things that really make a wrestling match special, or that really make me go, Christ, this wrestler gets it. Go back and watch this match. When Kevin Owens puts Sami on the commentary table and then goes around to climb up onto the barricade, like he's walking at a determined pace, starts getting up, and the idea is that the time that it takes him to get to the barricade, Sami has enough time to recuperate and throw him off. But to give Sami a little more time to make that a little more believable, Kevin is climbing up on the barricade and his foot slips. And when I saw it the first time, I was like, oh, that could have been a botch. But then Sami runs in to flip him off, and I'm like, no, it wasn't a botch. It wasn't like him messing up. He did that purposefully to sell the fact that he wasn't there. He took too much time. It left Sami Zayn just enough time to regain his senses and pull this move off. I love that kind of little detail stuff. KO stacks some tables on top of each other. We'll come back to those. He hits a spinning superplex on Zayn. Eventually, it's Sammy that pushes Owens off the turnbuckles through the table, stacking a great spot. Kevin Owens putting his body through so much shit for this company, and he doesn't get the level of respect or push that he is entitled to for the amount of punishment he puts himself through. There's more tables that come up. Sammy half and half suplexes KO on the apron. Kevin Owens, all this wraps up when Kevin Owens puts Sammy through the commentary table, then through another table via power bombs, then picks him up for another and power bombs him off of the side of the ring apron, just off the side, and Sammy's down, he's dead, he can't get up anymore. Loved this match, loved the finish. It didn't finish with a stunner which is I think Kevin Owens' official finisher, right? The stunner, and it's not the pop-up powerbomb anymore. It's like it finished with 2 table shots and being powerbombed off the side of the ring apron, and that's it. I like matches that don't finish in contrived ways, where you're like, if you weren't paying attention here, you completely missed out on it. You missed the finish. I like that. Keeps you on your toes. If you haven't watched this match, go back and watch it. Want to say hello to Injection 2K? Welcome to the chat. You know what wasn't cool beans? You know what was hot trash? Well, I want to nuance this. Maybe I pulled the trigger a little too quickly on the hot trash thing, but Zelina Vega is officially back in WWE. This is not the hot trash. I want to preface this right now. The fact that Zelina Vega is back working in WWE, collecting a paycheck from Big Vinnie Mac, I'm chill with that. I'm good with that. That's good for her. She got so much shit for popping back, for showing up. And I don't know why. Because of I think she, in the minds of a lot of people, she had become like the symbol of the resistance, the talent sticking up for the promoters with the unionization stuff and all of that. And now I support unionization. She deleted the tweet. I mean, it's her prerogative. She can do whatever she wants. You can't blame anyone. Here's the thing. You can't blame anyone for moving into a position where you're going to make a salary, where you're going to make money, where you get a job. You can't blame anyone for doing that. I think Zelina pulled the trigger a little early when she started talking about unionization. It reignited a hell of a debate within wrestling in general, the fans as well, I myself, but I can't blame Zelina Vega, and neither can you, quite frankly, for doing this. Because the thing is, even if Zelina Vega goes out and says, "Hey, I want wrestlers to unionize," unionization will only happen if wrestlers band together to make this happen. Even if you're just like a couple of members on the side, you're just going to come off as fringe elements and nothing is going to move. And you especially need support from the bigger wrestlers who are getting the big salaries. And those are the ones who can really put some pressure onto the company to make this happen. It just doesn't happen magically like that because you start tweeting. Look, and it's the same thing with Zelina Vega. It's the same thing with she had reached out, or the Screen Actors Guild, I think, had reached out to Zelina Vega, right? Where have they been since? They haven't spoken a word. Andrew Yang even showed up on fucking Chris Jericho's podcast to talk about unions in wrestling. What has he done? And his party won. They're in power now. And didn't he say that if he was in cabinet, he'd do something? Like he'd look into it? What is all the... I think it's anyone who got mad. I don't usually do this, but I am going to go down this path here. Anyone who has given Zelina Vega shit for the unionization tweet and her returning to WWE, and there's and that unions haven't developed in wrestling since she tweeted that out. Anyone who's giving her shit for that is a dope, because they don't understand how it works. It doesn't stand on the back of one person. And if hey, I get kicked out, I get fired from a job, I get kicked out of anything, I'll be a little hot-headed, be a little mad. You say maybe some things that you just come off the top of your head, and you're like, nah. She gets a little pissed off. The whole Twitch thing is still shit, by the way. But, she's like, it's kind of unfair that that wrestlers who work on their side projects on Twitch, on Instagram, and who help grow their own brand, which in turn helps grow their presence, the presence of their employer, or at least the employer that they're contracted to. Let's not forget. WWE shouldn't be taking a cut of their money that they're making on social. That I still believe that WWE shouldn't even dip their claws in that shit. None of their fucking business. So I understand where she's like, she comes up and says, if we were unionized, we could stick up for ourselves in these types of situations. She's not wrong. But to think that she was this catalyst for it to change, that she was that the fact that she decided to go back and work for them under whatever conditions she accepted makes her bad, makes her like the antithesis of what unionization should be. It's not on her. It's not on her at all. Anywho, she's back in WWE. And Anakin left us a relevant super chat. I'll read it right now. Thank you very much, Anakin, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Remember, folks, I'll read your question or comment online if you leave some. He says, it is not up to Zelina alone to change things. People should remember that. We don't know what her efforts in unionization were or their successes. There could have been a ton of behind-the-scenes things that happened. She probably had meetings. She probably tried to convince some of her co-workers. The thing is that at the very core, there is not a single union in the history of unions that does not happen without the support of the workers. And as long as wrestlers decide to not put as long as wrestlers don't get together to make it happen, it will never happen. And it will never be on the back of one single person. It's a collective effort. It's always the case. So she could have been talking with the Screen Actors Guild. She could have been talking with Andrew Yang. I don't know. But boy, oh boy, these organizations that showed support to her when she popped out and were like, oh yeah, we're going to look into this. Dead silence, radio silence. Like, screw them all. Anywho, thank you for the super chat, Anakin. I appreciate it. But Zelina is back. I'd call it a surprise. I don't think anyone was really expecting that. And she comes back to be entered into the Money in the Bank match. Now, this is where we start getting into hot trash territory here, folks. And again, the hot trash logo right there, the quality seal of hot trash, which is right there. God, I'm bad at this. I will never be a weather person. This here, this is where it started. Her return is not hot trash, but this is where we start getting into hot trash territory here. Liv Zelina gets involved. She gets put into the Money in the Bank match, despite the fact that she's been gone from the company for months. Just gets tossed in there, right? Patrick Mason, good to see you. Welcome to the chat, by the way. And so then that brings out Liv Morgan, who comes out and says, why is Zelina in this match? She hasn't wrestled in months because she's been gone from the company. She was fired. That's not what Liv says, but that's what I'm screaming at my TV. Not literally. And she's basically questioning the logic in this, as am I. And she says it doesn't make sense. Zelina makes up some shit and she says, I've been working for so many years and I'm a dynamic wrestler. Zelina has tons of great qualities. She really, really does. A great in-ring worker is not one of those qualities, though. But she has charisma. She has talent, speaking ability. She's fantastic. She's a hell of a promo. I still stand by the fact that I used to call her the female Paul Heyman when she was managing Andrade Cien Almas in NXT years ago. I still stand by that. And but Liv is like, I don't understand. And as a viewer, I don't understand either. And it pisses me off. None of the Money in the Bank qualifying processes makes any sense. None of them do. Tag team matches to get qualified, and then triple threat last ditch efforts, and then simply being nominated by what? There's no consistency. And this is what makes WWE so rough to watch. It's because why is it like this for these people and it's like this for... Why is it that everyone on SmackDown is competing for spots, whereas on Raw, why is it that on Raw everyone is competing for spots, whereas on SmackDown the women are just picked by Sonya? Like, why is that? Why is it that on Raw some guys are just having regular matches, whereas Sammy and Kevin have to do a last man standing match to qualify? Like, that doesn't seem fair to me. None of it seems fair. None of it makes any sense. Just have your standard qualifiers. It's not as if... I keep hearing week after week from people who say, well, WWE has 7 hours of programming a week that they have to fill up. Okay, then put on qualifying matches, singles matches, just do it, and you'll fill up your 7 hours in a jiffy. Your 7 hours of programming will be filled up in a flash. I don't understand. And this is the kind of shit that bothers me, because it's so basic. Just make the wrestling stuff make sense. Just make it make sense. Pick who you want to be in the qualifiers, in the qualifying matches. Just have the goddamn matches. Have it happen in front of us, right? So of course I don't understand why Liv is fighting for a spot for Money in the Bank. Why? Whereas Sonya's just dropping whoever she wants. It doesn't make sense to me. And to me, it doesn't make it more endearing, doesn't make her more of a babyface. Oh, but she had to work while everyone else didn't. So fucking what? It doesn't make sense. If everyone was working for these spots, then it would make sense. And you give Liv the harder, the more invested matches. Make her work harder for it. Sure, I can get behind that. But not this. This is... And then Liv beats... They have a match with her and Zelina, and she beats Zelina on Zelina's return. How does that work? What are you trying to do with Zelina? And commentary, when Zelina was coming down to the ring, Michael Cole was saying, Zelina Vega has great upside, great talent, great in-ring acumen, They're putting her over, but then fucking Liv Morgan comes in and beats her in the ring. Who was 50-50 with Carmella, the same Liv Morgan who couldn't win a match within the last 6 months or so. And so, I mean, I don't want to call it a burial because that's not what it is, but you're re-debuting someone and you have her lose on her return match? Honestly, there's moments where I'm like, there are multiple moments where I'm like, I'm glad I don't book a wrestling promotion because I'm sure that there's a lot of complexities involved, especially with the egos of the talent that you have to deal with, so on and so forth. But there's also moments where you're like, this is so easy to book. It's so simple. And sometimes, just because an outcome is predictable means that it's bad. It's like the Titanic. You know the Titanic sinks at the end of the movie, but it's the journey to get there that you want to watch. Nah, all of this stinks. All of this stinks. I really wish they had some proper, what's the word I'm looking for? Qualifiers. I really wish they did. Let's keep the hot trash train going as we move on to Monday Night Raw. They had one of these opening segments. They had one of these opening segments. Justin Firestein, welcome to the chat. Good to see you. Where everyone comes in and does their promo one after the other. I hate those. And all the lines are contrived. But the most surreal thing in this situation was Drew McIntyre, a guy who wears a kilt and carries a sword, comes down to the ring telling us in his Scottish accent about the Alamo and how he's related to Davy Crockett. How did someone, am I missing something? Or is there, like, I'm from Canada, but I know enough about the Alamo. Like, I understand what the Alamo was. I used to watch the old Disney Davy Crockett live action show that they did like in the late 60s, early 70s, something like that. So I know who Davy Crockett. Is there a part of Davy Crockett's heritage that makes him Scottish? I don't think so. It was just weird. Riddle is on the ladder. He gets tossed off, and then they clear the ring one guy after the other, but it's so awkward and just a really bad segment. It's really bad. God, I wish. You know what? My biggest wish is for WWE to mix up its formula and not be like this week after week, starting always the same rhythm, always the same thing. I don't know. This led into Ricochet versus John Morrison. Not a bad match. It's a good pairing because they're both of the same mindset. The water gun stuff is shit. It's shit. I have never seen, outside of the Wicked Witch of the West, anyone be so completely bamboozled by getting sprayed with dollar store foam toy foam water squirters. I've never seen that before. It's so infuriatingly stupid. And then the ending comes when The Miz, who is in a wheelchair, is keeping Ricochet. Ricochet dives out the ring onto Morrison on a weird spot, admittedly. I'm not quite sure. I think there was a miscue there. But he dives and he lands on the floor with Morrison, and the ref starts the 10 count. Morrison gets back into the ring, and Ricochet, he's like on his knees. He's on all fours and he's trying to get back up. He did a dive to the floor. Something that this guy has been doing for the past 15 years of his fucking wrestling career. Something that he does and gets back up from regularly, right? But for some reason here, he does the dive, but he can't get up from it, from being on all fours. Somehow, this one is like, no, this dive that I usually do, nope, sorry. He does fucking Fosbury flops, and 15 seconds later, he's back in the match doing fucking Spanish flies, okay? So he's on all fours, and Miz is in a wheelchair, and Miz is moving he's rolling in his wheelchair back and forth, keeping Ricochet from hitting the ring because he's on all fours and he can't muster the energy to start up. We're talking about goddamn Ricochet, who does insanely impossible human things with his body. Are you fucking kidding me? That he can't just move out of the way of a wheelchair, that this dive that he does thousands of times suddenly completely knocks him out and he can't get back in. This was such a shit ending. It was a bad ending. It really irked me. He's a geek. I mean, that's a geek thing to see happen right there. Come on, man. Like, I'm literally, you could springboard. You could, not springboard, but a leapfrog over Miz. And it's Ricochet. Not only could he leapfrog, he could corkscrew leapfrog into a destroyer and land on his feet and into the ring. Anyway. And you want to talk about something else that was rotten? Alexa, Asuka, and Naomi versus... Alexa, Asuka, Naomi, and Nikki Ash. Alright. Versus Shayna and the other one, Eva Marie and Doudrop. Was the slowest match in the history of slow matches. And it's because of the shenanigans of fucking Eva Marie and Alexa Bliss. Eva Marie doing this shit gimmick where she doesn't want to wrestle. You know, the exact same thing she was doing when they fired her. She said, why don't we bring her back so she can continue doing the exact same thing? She doesn't want to wrestle and she's not wrestling. And thank God. Did you see her footwork when she came to deliver an elbow, a forearm in the corner? I can't remember to who. I was looking at her footwork. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? And then she was stomping someone in the corner at some point. Just holding onto the top rope and stomping. That was the worst stomps I ever saw. Hit the bricks, lady. At least if you want to do the I don't want to wrestle gimmick, don't do it. I can understand why you don't want to do it. You can't do it. And then we get more Alexa Bliss hypnosis bullshit. Did I say hypnosis? Hypnosis. That's how mad I am right now. It's garbage. And it just brought the whole match down. No energy, no rhythm. Because you have to pause because Alexa Bliss is looking at someone so that they can lift their hand. This shit has got to stop. And who gets the win in this? Fucking Nia Jax, of course, right? And it's not as if they don't have... This is what breaks my heart. And I'm going to tell you what breaks my heart. In this match here, there are, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wrestlers in this match that I really like and that I know can go. And why doesn't WWE just let their explosive wrestlers wrestle instead of bogging them down with this useless junk? As you guys know, I'm not the guy who follows I'm not the guy who follows ratings. Well, no, that's not true. I follow ratings, but I don't get into the big debates. I've been told that Raw this week is a record low. Raw this week was a record low. But Eva Marie was such a good get, such great stuff that she's been contributing. What? How could? Oh, you got to give it time, Warren. Sure, but the way they were hyping her, I just dislike this so much. It's because there's too much talent in WWE for them to be on a weekly basis shoveling out this level of garbage. There's too many people. I have to go back and check, but I'm going broken record. Warren, here we go again. Probably the numbers need to be updated, but let's not forget, a few weeks ago, thank you to Brendan Thurston over at WrestleNomics who figured this one out, they had over 230 people on their roster. And during the 1 week that Brandon Thurston wanted to evaluate to see how many wrestlers are used in a week of programming of WWE, just a random week, he found that there were 77 spots open for wrestlers, whether it's an appearance, an actual match, showing up on TV. As long as they showed up on TV, that was use of a wrestler. 77 wrestlers out of a 235 member roster. You're using 35% of your roster on a weekly basis. That makes no sense. First and foremost. But second of all, you have 235 people banked. You can use anyone there. You can rotate in and out. You can do whatever you want. There's too much talent in that company to be suffering through garbage. That's what's infuriating about WWE. Noob, good to see you. Welcome to the chat. Warm soda time. How about we do that? The Jinder Mahal Drew McIntyre match wasn't bad. I thought they were having a good big man match. One that, I'm pretty sure that Jinder was looking forward to getting. I think this one was a long time coming. I think it was pretty good until the fuck finish. Where they had the interference. You gotta keep everyone strong, pal. And don't do the match. Give me a winner. Give me a loser. Like, do something. We can't have Jinder lose because he's starting a push, and we can't have Drew lose because it's Drew. Then don't book the fucking match. And then Jinder steals Drew's sword. Apparently because Drew took the Money in the Bank opportunity away from Jinder. Jinder is taking away his family heirloom. Is this finally going to make Drew McIntyre mad? Or is he going to come out again all smug and above it all? It's like, next week, and Jinder Mahal, you took my sword. Don't worry, I'll get it back. And besides, I've got another sword right here. It's like nothing makes him angry. Is this finally going to make him angry? I'll tell you one thing. The one good thing that really makes me excited. Let me curb that. The one thing that really makes me hopeful is that this feud, Jinder and Drew, will happen after Money in the Bank, which, crossing my fingers, will mean that Drew McIntyre will not win Money in the Bank. I really, really hope that Drew McIntyre does not win Money in the Bank. I'm going to say it right now, but I will also say it on my prediction show in a couple of weeks. Actually, not this Saturday, next Saturday, but we'll be having a prediction show for Money in the Bank. If Drew McIntyre wins Money in the Bank, it will be the exact equivalent of John Cena winning Money in the Bank, 2012. It's going to be the exact same thing. A guy who does not need to win Money in the Bank, winning Money in the Bank, is completely missing the point and the mark of what the Money in the Bank briefcase is supposed to do. Just that simple. So hopefully it will keep Drew away from the title picture a little longer. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm hoping, is that Drew stays away from the title a little while longer. I'm completely okay with the idea that Drew can't beat Bobby Lashley. I think it's a good story that a wrestler, a top tier, top guy wrestler, has this one guy that he can't beat. Or that he really had. And so when he eventually does beat Bobby Lashley, whether it's for the title or not, it'll be a big deal. I like that kind of stuff. I want to say hello to Conrad from Everything Pro Wrestling, who just joined us, as well as Kristen Ashley, the First Lady of the Mr. Warren Show. Yeah. PWI contributor, column writer. She's a big deal. Owner of Bell to Bells. She's a big fucking deal. I don't want to talk about Raw too much, because I do want to talk about some cool stuff, but the Charlotte and Rhea segment sucked. It sucked. It was a big pile. Okay, here's the thing. A lot of you know this. I have a bird. I have a budgie. I'm a budgie owner, okay? My kid has a budgie. Its name is Mackie. It's a lovely little blue and white budgie. Lovely animal, lovely bird. You leave, and super friendly. She comes over. She comes up and you give her kisses. And you go, woo, doo, 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 doo. It's a fantastic. I love the bird, okay? You let the bird fly around. It shits on everything. That's what budgies do. All right? They're cute. They're lovely singing voices. Sometimes they screech, but when they get into their singing voice, it's lovely. But they shit on everything. This segment is the equivalent of that spot that your bird always flies to just hang around and maybe look at itself and look at its reflection like a mirror. And the budgie goes there and just stays there and shits constantly in that one place. And then the pile just gets bigger and bigger because it's always there. And you're a slob, so you never clean stuff. I'm not saying me, this is a hypothetical. Let's say you don't clean up that spot, and the shit just keeps piling up like a pyramid of shit. Just a pyramid of budgie shit. The Rhea Ripley Charlotte segment was a pyramid of budgie shit. Because it didn't start great with Charlotte cutting another one of her promos, trying to sell a fake injury, and the budgie just kept shitting more and more and faster once Rhea Ripley started coming out. She came out with you've seen the segment, and if you haven't, God bless you, because it was shit. And then they start swinging their crutches at each other like they're fucking Highlanders. Both of them are faking injuries. Well, Charlotte is faking the injury. Rhea was making fun of her. It was a budgie shit level segment. Stop trying to shoehorn Rhea Ripley in a character that doesn't work for her. Stop trying to feed her lines or situations or words that don't fit with her naturally. Rhea works if Rhea is allowed to be closer to what Rhea is. But now WWE's like, we want Rhea to be a tough guy, tough gal. So she has to talk like one, and she's very smug. And Rhea doesn't have to say much. That's the point. She looks the part. Just let her beat people up. God damn it. That's right. Hashtag budgie shit pyramid. That's what that next time I see that kind of segment on Raw, that's what I'm tagging it. I'm putting it out there on Twitter. Hashtag budgie shit pyramid. Jackson Ryker and R-Truth defeated Elias and Cedric Alexander in the worst possible. Look, again, I don't want to spend too much time on this. You guys know what I think about Jackson Ryker. But let's be serious for a second. Even if I liked Jackson Ryker and everyone was on Jackson Ryker's good side because he was an exceptional human being instead of, being racist. If Jackson Ryker was well liked, even if he was, this is not a good way to put him over. I don't understand what they're doing to try to get this guy over. Because the matches that he had with Elias in the past was Elias chickening out, being counted out. How does that get you over as a babyface? And now here, he basically puts Cedric Alexander away because R-Truth hit the bricks and so did Elias. So he's like, all right, how does any of this help put Jackson Ryker over as a babyface? So I'm saying, even if he was well liked, this isn't the way to go. They clearly want to push him as a babyface, but what's to like? Where are the babyface actions? He's more like a guy who just like, stuff is happening to me, and I will react in accordance to it. It's blah. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods defeated Bobby Lashley and MVP. It was fine. It was all right. Not quick. What am I talking about? This is Warren Hayes you're talking about. Quick? Sir, surely you jest. Thank you everyone for being here. Remember to leave a like on the video if you're watching this right now. Leave a super chat and I'll read it out loud. Well, that's usually what you do. You can read just to yourself, but I will read it out loud. It just sounded weird to say because that's what you usually, but yes. Let's see. What do we got? Oh yeah, let's talk about the Great American Bash edition of NXT. I thought it was okay. Oh, Hellbringer, good to see you. Welcome back. Welcome again. Nice to see you. I thought it was all right as far as the show goes. This was clearly a super card type of event. I thought MSK versus Ciampa. That's how we should call. Oh, that's really good. MSK versus Ciampa. I'm on board with that. Their couple name? Otherwise, what could it be? It'd be Champture? Ciampa sort of rolls off the tongue a little easier. Solid match, great sequence with Ciampa, great corkscrew dive by Wesley Lee on Ciampa as well. And match comes to an end when Lee breaks out of an ankle lock that was being held by Thatcher. And then Lee rolls him up for the win. I don't know how I feel about the ending. All that much. Like, not that... I saw a lot of people on the timeline saying Ciampa and Thatcher should win. Ciampa should win. I wasn't necessarily of that opinion. I think MSK are fantastic. I really think they're doing better work in NXT than they did during their tenure in Impact. I really and frankly do. They're one of the best teams, and I think that it would have been too soon to have them drop the titles. I think it's good that established Ciampa, an established guy in NXT, along with Thatcher, putting over the new guys. I think that's pretty good. I think there was no problem for me to have MSK retain the titles. Made sense to me. I'm just not sure about the finish. It kind of opens things up for a rematch. Tag team fight pit. Tag team fight pit. Bring out the fight pit. Put tag team. Let's do it. Right? Chat, you got to be with me on this. Tag team fight pit. Oh. And these two guys, MSK, they'd just be flying off of it like it's nobody's business. No, it'd be great. I suddenly, this is what I want. This is how this feud needs to be blown off. I love it. I absolutely love it. We could a catcher as opposed to Ciampa. Cameron Grimes lost against LA Knight. He's not going to be LA Knight's butler. Not sure. I'm super looking forward to these segments. This is the thing with NXT is that I feel like they're on a little bit of an uptick in regards to bringing back, coming back to the essentials, to what the wrestling is about, but there's still too much of this main roster type nonsense, and this kind of bugs me. But Grimes and Knight had a good match. I think Grimes made this match click. I really did, he hits a standing moonsault, running Spanish fly. He does or was it Knight who did it was Grimes who did a Uranagi slam on LA Knight. Knight hits a TKO off of a skin to cat move, which was pretty cool. There's a superplex as well from LA Knight. LA Knight tries to do some shenanigans with the $1 million belt, but Grimes hits a poison Ron on him, which was sweet. Grimes gets DDT'd on the belt on the floor. The referee doesn't see it. Gets pushed back into the ring. The BFO for the win. I like Eli Drake. I like LA Knight. He's not an NXT guy. I think the guy is extremely charismatic. He's got great presence. He's a big guy. He's built. But he belongs on main. Not on NXT. He's not an NXT guy. He's actually not. That's the only thing that doesn't work for me, is that he's tailor-made for main roster. Why isn't he there? Why isn't he not there yet? Why isn't he not there? We got the we have, I should say. Or did I lose my notes on that? Because we had the the NXT Breakout Tournament was announced, and I think I did. Give me a second here. It would appear that I had shut down my notes about it, but I'm going to go and pop them open again. Give me just a quick second here. Apologies, folks. But because I do want to talk about it just a little bit, because I think it has the potential to be really, really exciting. I think it really has the potential to be exciting. Where... This is a live show. There we go. Got it right here. Apologies for that. So I do have, finally, the competitors that are announced for the NXT Breakout Tournament. Lots of good stuff here. Got Trey Baxter, Blake Christian, who's going to be in the tournament. Carmelo Hayes, that we used to know as Christian Casanova, who's another fantastic guy. Harlem Bravado, or Andre Chase. How do you go from... Man, Harlem Bravado is probably one of the most badass names. And you go to Andre Chase. Anyway. 3 fantastic guys here. Josh Briggs is going to be there. Ikemen Jiro is going to finally show up on NXT. Joe Gacy, Odyssey Jones, and the former Brendan Vink, Duke Hudson are all going to be in this. And the and that's exciting. That's really, really exciting. I think we got it. There's a lot of great people in this match, in this tournament. I think it really has the potential to be super exciting. This is part of what we liked about NXT, right? It's discovering new talent, right? I mean, there's not a lot, but there's a few people here that, probably some of us are very familiar with. Blake Christian being one of them, Carmelo Hayes, Christian Casanova, Harlem Bravado. But this has a really good... I feel like this tournament's going to be really interesting. If you're asking me, my final 4 would be Jiro, Andre Chase, Carmelo Hayes, and Blake Christian. Trey Baxter. I will not get used to not calling him Blake Christian. I probably will, but it's going to take me some time. And frankly, my finals, I haven't seen the brackets. I don't know what the brackets look like. But my finals would be Jiro versus Christian Casanova. That would be my dream final for this tournament. But there's a lot of great components here. And you got to put Blake Christian over here, right? He's so fantastic. He's so good at what he does. I'm going to give a bit of the soda that is warm here to Candice LeRae and Indi Hartwell losing the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships to Io Shirai and Zoey Stark. Very, very, very average match. And that's my only note that I took about the match. I was highly underwhelmed by what was going on, and I was definitely expecting much higher, a much more exciting match than this. The return of Tegan Nox, of course, at the end, which distracted LeRae because they have issues. Let's not forget, which allowed Io Shirai to knock LeRae out of the ring. Stark then hit a suplex into a knee strike. Then she on Hartwell, and she covered Indi Hartwell for the win. Io and Zoey are your new NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. They are the 4th champions since these belts have been launched in March. Like, at some point, you have to let them get some credibility, and titles get credibility over when there's proper title reigns attached to them. Toni Storm cut a promo on Raquel, and Toni Storm and cut a promo on Raquel. Oh, yeah. But then the interviewer says, I heard that Shirai wants to have a match with you. And Toni Storm is like, bleh, 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 bleh. She does a Toni Storm thing where it's like, she's beneath me or whatever. And I'm like, look, our theory, guys, gals, our theory is ongoing. Toni Storm is the gatekeeper of NXT now. She's literally the gatekeeper of NXT. Because she's going to have her match with Shirai, and Saray's going to beat her. because they want to push the new girl. And again, Toni Storm is in this match where she's going to be like, I mean, this is what I'm supposing. Look, let's have this conversation again after the Sarray Toni Storm match, okay? Let's see how that one turns out. But holy shit, if this doesn't feel like Toni really becoming the gatekeeper of NXT, I don't know what is. Anakin, GMT left us a super chat. Thank you very much. Anakin, he says, wasn't it Indi and LeRae's first title defense also? I do believe you're right. Let me take a look here. Open this up. Yep, it was. Well, I mean, not unlike, I mean, there's a precedent for these titles to be lost on the first defense, right? Maybe they're cursed like that. This is terrible. So excited for our girl Candice, for whom we stand here at Warren Hayes HQ to get some gold. And this is what we're left with. Hit Row ruled at Great American Bash. That was fantastic. Their celebration cipher was great. Celebrate a hip hop cipher, right? And here I am, middle-aged white guy, who's gonna stumble through, what a cipher is. It's essentially like it's a group of rappers, lyricists. Usually you get like some musicians like DJs or breakdancers, and all get together and they do like some freestyle performances. Essentially, it's some freestyling. That's what a cipher is. I don't know how improvised this was, because that's usually the backbone of what a cipher is. But I'm telling you, this was great. It was great. And in a wrestling organization, all being WWE, that looks for acts, right? And entertainment value before anything you can actually do in the ring. Hit Row solidified what they can bring to this company. And if you ask me, ask anyone. There is nothing in the World Wrestling Entertainment Organization right now like Hit Row. It feels fresh and it feels real. It's different and it's good. The thing is that on top of it all, is that it's good. Everyone who played their part in that cipher were amazing. They were spot on. They delivered on exactly the roles that was intended for them to do. Such good shit, pal. Look at that, playing off their strengths. Can you imagine? Playing off your wrestler's strengths, you get great stuff. Imagine that. And finally, we got Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly in the main event, which was fine. I like the final third of this match was particularly solid. Kyle O'Reilly goes for the top rope knee drop. Adam Cole rolls out of the way, hits a last shot. Kyle O'Reilly kicks out at really at 2.9. Panama Sunrise is blocked with a knee strike. Kyle O'Reilly tumbles because it's the leg that Cole was working on for the entirety of the match. So then Cole hits the Panama Sunrise finally. And the last shot. It's good night there. But is it weird that Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, who have such a storied history with each other, who are friends and who are able to go, can't seem to put on a real deal true to form classic? Or are they saving it for a rubber match? Because I don't want this to end on a 50-50. Because I don't think, unless they really want to do an O'Reilly Cole 3, there is no reason for Adam Cole to have won this match. Adam Cole is bulletproof. They can do whatever they want with him. He's not a geek. He's never been perceived as one, never been used as one. Kyle O'Reilly needed the win more than anything else because he's still establishing that very precious babyface credibility as a top star. And it was already sunk when he took part in that match with Killer Kross, that 5-man shit at the last takeover at In Your House, where Killer Kross defeated all the top babyface, all the top contenders in NXT. I'm like they have to be careful with Kyle if they want him to come across as a credible babyface main event guy. And then again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's not what they want to do. It's a mistake because it's not as if they have top level babyface main eventers for NXT just, hanging from the rafters. And they're leaning hard into Samoa Joe maybe wrestling Killer Kross. I don't know if that's going to happen. But there's only so many times you can go to that well too. Let's talk about AEW Dynamite. Thought it was a good show. We'll keep the warm soda. Cody versus QT strap match I thought that wasn't it. It wasn't it. It wasn't terrible, but look, you knew from the moment this match started, okay? From the moment it started, you knew Cody was going to win because QT Marshall he got the AEW Dark Jobber entrance. What is the AEW Dark Jobber entrance? You're already on the side of the ring when the main talent comes out, and you just Justin Roberts announces you, QT Marshall, he's there, and camera. You're not even in the fucking ring when he calls his name. Oh, okay. QT does a moonsault. Cody isn't on. This was weird. QT does a moonsault as Cody is not even on his back on the mat. And Cody's he just swings the strap and hits him in the midsection. I'm like, why, QT, why did you go to do a moonsault when Cody wasn't even on the mat? Makes no sense. I didn't understand. And QT is supposed to be a wrestling trainer. That's how they're putting him over. That was the whole deal with the factory and the Nightmare Family split, right? It's like QT's taking his best students. It's like, well, you look at it, it's like, okay, well, QT's a shit trainer. No wonder Cody was able and Dustin were able to beat everyone, Aaron Solo, Camarado, and Ogogo. No wonder he was able to beat everyone. They're all geeks. They're trained by a geek. They wrestle like geeks. This was not a good opener for AEW. Very plodding. I didn't feel like there was any real drama because we knew what the outcome was. And like I said, here's the thing. Like I said it just earlier in the show, and I'm going to repeat it here. It's not because an ending is predictable that the match isn't good. But then if your ending is predictable, you do have to put on an entertaining match for us to be invested in it. But I like matches. The favorite type of match that I have is when it's supposed to be when you're supposed to see the ending coming, but the wrestlers are able to make you believe that, oh wait, this might actually go the other way. Like Omega and Jungle Boy a couple of weeks ago on the Saturday Dynamite, where there was no way that Jungle Boy was winning the AEW World title that night. But when we were getting towards the end of the show, I was like, holy shit. Like in that final stretch, it had me believing. I was like, wait a minute. Popped out of my seat a couple of times. Not here. And to me, the whole thing was a bust. The whole factory nightmare family thing was a bust. I honestly don't see what the plan was outside of having Cody beat some mid-carders, which is fine ultimately. I don't mind. But I really thought when they were doing this, and especially knowing Cody's history at being, I'll put over some new guys. Like Cody has a history of doing that, right? So I was really excited at the idea of QT having his stable of guys fighting Cody's guys and having like this war of attrition and elevating some new people, right? I was like, wow, Solo, Camarado, Ogogo. Ogogo got the best rub off of all of this, but still managed to lose the pay-per-view match. And unfortunately, he's got eye surgery again. It's his 10th, I've been told. Like he's legally blind in an eye, right? And there's rumors that even his wrestling career may be over, which is a shame because I think he was, at least as far as getting heat goes, he was a natural at it. It's a shame. It's a shame that this entire feud just went down this path with Cody and Dustin running over everyone without any real repercussions. I think it's going to be a little more. It'll be a little harder to rehabilitate these guys than maybe if they had been able to get one over. Like what harm would it have been for Camarado to get a win over Dustin, other than just establishing Camarado as a guy who might be a threat? Just add in a little spice here, you know? Wouldn't have been bad. But anyway, as far as this match goes, that wasn't it. Oh, let's go for some cool beans. Don Callis and Kenny Omega continue down this promo saying that there's no one left for them backstage to fight, not unlike one Roman Reigns. But in this case, we know that there is someone left. They're just being dicks about it. The Dark Order come out. Crowd reacts accordingly. They're happy to see our geeks from the Dark Order. Who doesn't love the Dark Order? Well, I know a few people who don't. Uno steps up to Kenny, Evil Uno, and he, basically says he asks him why he fears Hangman Page. And in the meantime, the audience, even before Uno was out to talk about Hangman Page, the audience were on their feet. They were chanting for Hangman Page. They were chanting in the audience. Cowboy shit. Kenny had to cool them down. Right? No, Uno comes out and he basically asks him, why do you fear Hangman? Crowd goes nuts. They're like, yeah, and Kenny's like, I don't know what you do. Kenny dismisses everything. And then suddenly, Kenny decides to come back with the fucking, what is the capital of sorry, I fucked it up. What is the capital of Thailand line? And you guys have been on a playground before, right? Are we really doing this? Is he really going to kick Evil Uno? He asks Evil Uno, what is the capital of Thailand? And I'm sitting there and I'm looking, is Evil Uno really going to let Kenny Omega kick him in the balls? But yes, because Evil Uno is like, well, I didn't know it was trivia night. And I'm like, what? It was so perfect. Evil Uno just well-intentioned, not that evil, a little dunce, a little bit of a dummy here. It's like, well, I didn't know it was trivia. Kenny just winds up, kicks him straight in the crotch, and he says, it's Bangkok, and I'm dying because I'm like, this, so the rest of Kenny's goons come out and they start beating up the Dark Order. Hangman Page runs out. The crowd goes nuts. And he empties out the rest of Kenny's goons. And he's standing alone in the ring with Omega. Teases doing the buckshot lariat. And they just end up doing a stare down. The crowd is so incredibly hot. Guys, gals, listen to me. This is how you do an in-ring segment. This is how you get your crowd hot for a match. It was so perfectly built. From the moment Kenny came and the audience were wanted to see Paige, they were chanting for Paige. Like the inevitability is there. Again, predictability, but that doesn't mean it's bad. And Kenny's like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Evil Uno comes out. We love the Dark Order. Dark Order comes out to stick up for Kenny, for Hangman. It all makes sense in this grand story they're telling. Kicks Uno in the balls. Then there's the beatdown. Who comes to save? The guy that the people wanted to see from the beginning of the segment. You could not get more basic yet more effective, because you've got nothing but perfect elements. Everyone played their part perfectly. Kenny was an asshole. Evil Uno was the nice guy just coming in to stick up for his friend. Hangman comes in for the save. What the fuck more do you want out of wrestling stories when they're done so effectively? It's simple. It's fun. Doesn't have to be more complicated than that. Just get the right elements, get the right people in the right positions. Put people over. They haven't spent the last 6 months 50-50ing Page. Hangman Page. Got to be careful. There's more than one Page in AEW. But they haven't spent all this time 50-50ing Adam Page. Why is he over? Because he wins. All the story, and I appreciate the story. The gentleman on Twitter did this whole thread on how he broke down the entire Hangman Page story, which is fantastic. He got all the story beats. It was great, but ultimately, it's all superfluous. When ultimately the story that you need to tell, you need to get your guy over. You get a guy over by having him win matches, making him come off as a big deal, making the audience understand that you need to be cheering for this guy. And guess what? It's been months since we've had an actual stadium. Well, it wasn't a stadium, but an actual full capacity live. Again, it wasn't capacity. The Miami show wasn't sold out. You know what I mean? A full live crowd. It had been months since we had Adam Page in front of a live crowd, and look at how electric they were for the motherfucker. It bugs me sometimes when I think about WWE and how convoluted they make stuff happen when you look at this segment here and how goddamn effective it was. Now, by the way, I still think, of course, Adam Page is going to be a contender for the title. That's inevitable. I think it happens at All Out, not at Fyter Fest, not at Fight for the Fallen. I think you keep that for All Out. But if you're giving me the book, you're telling me to book this shit, and I've been on the record on this before. I just want to remind everyone, you have Adam Page lose at All Out. You have Kenny defend against Christian Cage at Full Gear, and you have Adam Page win the title in February at Revolution. Have Page work for the title. Have him work for the title. I legitimately think that they have the potential for an exciting series of matches a la Okada Omega here. Maybe not the same level of wrestling. Let's not get everything confused. But as far as the storytelling goes, there's something so compelling about the idea of Hangman Page. I'll get his name. Working to get to win the title, failing, but finally getting the win over Omega. That one that always eluded him. Third time's the charm kind of thing. God, I love that. Well, we'll see. We had FTR and Wardlow versus Santana Ortiz and Jake Hager. That was fine. You know, I'm gonna tell you, I'm kind of spent on the Pinnacle Inner Circle feud, even though they all split it up to be more like individual feuds. You know, Sammy and Sean Spears. Like I'm really I'm spent on it. I think it's been too long, and MJF and Jericho. The MJF and Jericho segment, don't get me wrong, was entertaining because they had, again, great promo work. You know, yeah, the fan who tried to get into the ring was something. That's okay. We're back to live events now. But MJF basically set up his stipulations for Jericho, saying that you're going to have to defeat 4 wrestlers of my choice back to back, and I'll be the 5th guy if you can manage to beat the other 4, which you won't be able, kind of thing. Of course, we know he's going to. You know, I was looking at that thing where they were doing the stipulations. That was a contract signing in disguise, folks. They was establishing the stipulations. I was looking at that and like, Chris Jericho signed a fucking contract. This was a contract signing. Pshaw. And you know, I'm okay with Jericho and MJF's feud to be an in-ring thing now moving forward, as opposed to them having these events where they will challenge each other verbally. You know, it's a debate, a war room, an opposing views discussion. You know, it's like I'm sick of those. I'm sick of all the talk between these two. I want them to get their hands dirty. I want this feud to move forward in a wrestling ring. So I think they've established it. It should be interesting. And this is, of course, going to lead us to All Out, where Jericho and MJF are going to have their big blow-off match, which MJF should win. Mark my words. The Britt Baker thing was fantastic. Telling Tony Khan to enjoy his blood money because of the tag team stuff. Vicky Guerrero telling Tony Khan, I can get you Andrade Almas if you give us this tag team match last week. Enjoy your blood money. Maybe next time AEW could run a show in Saudi Arabia. I love that shit. I love it so much. I'm going to go over 2 hours today, aren't I? Because I haven't talked about Matt Sydal versus Andrade El Idolo was a solid match. You know, saw Andrade do the first of all, yes, he was DC comic villain Black Mask, but also a bit of a reference to the El Ingobernables, because I've seen those boys in that uniform before. But Andrade did the top rope moonsault into a moonsault thing. It's fantastic. He did a standing. Sydal did his standing corkscrew moonsault, which is always that always blows my mind every time I see it. Andrade wins the match with a hammerlock leg sweep. Calls it the El Idolo. Not very original. Well worked but a little weird. He continues his attack on Seidel. I don't know. It just didn't. It missed a gear. You know, it was fine. I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. But then Tony Schiavone is in the ring to interview Arn Anderson. Arn essentially begins his promo and the lights go dark. Reappear. Tommy End. Aleister Black. Malakai Black. Whatever you want to call him. Is in the ring. He black masses Arn. I don't know what they're going to call it, but for the time being. He black masses Arn. Cody comes in. He's like, what the fuck, brother? Malakai goes, sure. And he black masses Cody right on the face. What a pop he got that night, last night. Holy shit. Crowd went bananas. Immediately started chanting Tommy. We had Michael from the in the Discord. He was live. He told us the place just went unglued, chanting Tommy. Hell of a debut. Not sure about the name. I'm not a fan of the name. Why wouldn't he just stick with Tommy End? Tommy End works. A lot of people know him under that name too. I kind of like it. But, you know, I know he has this grand vision of his character, right? Like, here's a couple of things I enjoy, okay? I enjoy that he came back, you know, and he has his right eye that's still all busted up, you know, and he has the white contact, you know, because of the eye damage that he took in WWE. And I'm like, that's pretty bold. And I can appreciate that kind of continuity. If he's coming in here and he's like, yeah, you know what? My eye's still fucked up. I dig that. I think that's pretty cool. But, you know, he did that movie and the asylum stuff. You guys saw that, right? If you didn't, like, he did a short movie that he had released before showing up on Dynamite. And I was like, okay, this is something. You know, it's interesting. Let's put it that way. And then he sort of looks over. So he you know, he sort of drops some hints that, you know, Tommy End was possessed by the devil, and that's why he was Aleister Black. And now it's another spirit that's possessing, like, this is a new incarnation of Tommy End. Like, Tommy End, for him, you know, his time possessed as Aleister Black won't have existed. And I'm like, dude. Just, we're good. We don't have to go too deep into this. You guys know I'm a huge Aleister Black guy. I loved Aleister. And the Aleister's best tippy top years in WWE was when he was in NXT and didn't speak a word. I'm not saying that she should never cut promos, but my point is that he wasn't a metaphysical creature coming from the sixth gate of hell, you know, whatever. He was just Aleister Black. He looked like he looked like a demon, looked like a beast, but, you know, just came across as like a cultist, like a badass, insane cultist. And that's really all you need, Tommy End. That's really all you need to do. You don't have to start developing lore. It might not go where you want it to go at this point, because Few people are, few of us are a little burnt out on the lore shit. And it didn't quite turn out well for Matt Hardy, who decided to pull that out when he went over to Dynamite, and they had to pull the plug on that because it just wasn't connecting. Hopefully, he'll be reined in a little bit. He'll be, let's keep it simple. Even when he was on Raw and he was beating dudes right and left and was on his winning streak, there wasn't 6 hours, there wasn't 30 minutes of exposition for his lore. I'm excited. I was not expecting him to show up on Dynamite for a bunch of reasons. The 90-day clause, notwithstanding. You guys have heard about this, right? If you've been on Twitter, if you've been around, it's hilarious because the one thing that came into everyone's mind is like, what about his 90-day non-compete, which is standard for WWE wrestlers. Once they get terminated, once they leave, they can't go work for another wrestling organization within the first 90 days. No compete. But the 90-day non-compete is for main roster wrestlers. His NXT, he basically was brought up to main with his NXT contract, and it was never updated to reflect the 90-day non-compete. So NXT contracts have a 30-day non-compete. So basically, it was, as PWI Insider, I think it was Mike Johnson who reported on it, said, it seems like it was a clerical error that allowed Tommy End to show up on AEW Dynamite before the 90 days were up because he was on a 30-day non-compete, and that is fucking amazing. That is the funniest stuff. I think it's great. Good for him. Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander defeated Bunny and the Blade. This was, again, very, very fine. Had some shenanigans throughout. It was a mixed tag match, not an intergender match. Blade produced some brass knuckles and knocked Orange Cassidy out with it, but Statlander had made a tag, so he went to cover Cassidy, but referee Aubrey Edwards was all on top of it. She's like, nah, sir, your boy here, he ain't legal. Statlander pushed Bunny into the Blade, hit the Big Bang Theory for the win. It was good stuff. Smart move by your girl Statlander. Again, good idea to bring out Orange Cassidy, and he did a bit of his shenanigans. Big reaction from the crowd. I think it's smart to bring out your popular acts like that on your first night back out. It's good stuff. America Top Team's Dan Lambert cut a hell of a promo. I loved it. He was there. He was at UFC, right? Mixed martial arts. He was there with Jorge Masvidal and Amanda Nunes. She's great, by the way. And they were there from the start of the show. And then at some point, Lambert, he's getting interviewed by Tony Schiavone. And at some point, Lambert is like, mother, I didn't know I had to do an interview. And why people wanted to put over, to endorse this product. I'm like, endorse? This is amazing. And he cut this fantastic promo talking about championship wrestling from Florida, that he grew up on that, and he starts naming all the old guys. And the AEW sucks, and he just rails on the product, rails on contemporary wrestling. Wrestling has never been as good as it was back in the 70s, the 80s. And then Lance Archer comes out to save the virtue of the wrestling business. and takes him out. I thought it was him, and I'll tell you what this was. If you haven't figured it out by yourselves, because y'all are smart people. You listen to the Mr. Warren Hayes show. You're above average. as far as intelligence goes. Bare minimum, I would say even you're like 30 IQ above average. I don't even know what the average IQ is, but y'all are above average plus 30. How about that? But if you haven't figured it out, this was Dan Lambert was the stand-in for all of these podcasters and old school guys who just sit around and shit on the contemporary product, particularly AEW. Just go, meh, meh, meh. Jim Cornette, let's just name him, for example. That's exactly what he was there as a stand-in for. And to get the base riled up, to get the people in the audience going, boo! Hit the bricks! AEW doesn't suck, of course. You're there because you like the product, right? But that's what he was for. And I find it interesting. Tony Khan booked this. Tony Khan was like, yeah, you go in the ring and you cut a promo and you say my product sucks. Dan Lambert said, you really? Yeah, sure, do it. And he just rails on the product and how it was so much better in the day. Like, seriously, it's the same type of arguments that you hear all the time on Twitter or on, you know what podcasts I'm talking about, where you have people who are just like, today's cosplay wrestlers, Mud Show Outlaw. It's like Outlaw Mud Show. See, I don't even have the lingo right. That's exactly what he was for. And I find it doubly interesting that they do this promo the week that people started reminding or that the Hulk Hogan segment where he burned an observer on a WCW pay-per-view, a wrestling observer, and observed this, and he set it on fire. I find it interesting that this happens in the same few days that video started recirculating again. Because this is what it was. It was Tony Khan's observe this moment. That was great. And we're not done here. I don't think this is something that we'll never see or hear of again. Maybe not. I don't know. I think we have a story here. Lance Archer said recently that he was going to be involved in something that got him really, really excited, that he was very touched to be part of AEW for this kind of stuff. Like, if he gets into a feud with a guy like Masvidal, who's he's a big name in MMA, I think he could be, it's legitimate for him to get excited about that. And then we had the Young Bucks retaining the tag team titles against Penta and Eddie Kingston. This was a lot of fun, fast-paced, lots of toys, lots of insanity. Penta hits a destroyer on Matt off the apron through a table. Just like we're saying in the chat, Matt almost died on that spot. It was such good stuff. Matt's about to tap out in the rear naked choke, and Nick, instead of trying to break it up, he does the 450 on Knox, the referee. Good brothers come out to screw up everything. Kazarian comes out, even out the odds. All sorts of great stuff. Then Kingston pulls out the thumbtacks. There's a hurricane, an avalanche hurricane Rana on Penta by Nick Jackson. Penta lands on the tacks. Kingston breaks up the cover. Kingston then takes double super kicks. The Bucks throw tacks into Penta's face. He's out of the ring. Matt puts tacks into Kingston's mouth. And then Kingston eats another super kick. Bucks cover him, retain. Like, you literally had to kill Eddie Kingston before this happened. That was awesome. That was a lot of fun. I'm going to leave you with this thought. Before I popped on, I listened to Voices of Wrestling on their Patreon. They do Joe Lanza does a Thursday night review Wednesday night match review of Dynamite. And he said something in his review of this match here, which completely blew my mind. Like one of these moments where I'm like, oh my God, he's right. Like my jaw dropped. I was like, he's absolutely right. Eddie Kingston is Dusty Rhodes. Eddie Kingston is a relatable, down-to-earth, blue-collar, everyman wrestler who has more heart than anything else. Doesn't look like your conventional pro wrestler, but everything he says and does, he speaks from the heart. He lives the business. He loves what he does. And he's always getting fucked over by the dastardly heels. And I'm like, my God, he is absolutely right. Eddie Kingston is the most Dusty Rhodes guy that we have in pro wrestling right now. And it just completely blew my mind. Like, of course, updated, contemporary, right? It's not the same type of Dusty. Kingston is not the son of a plumber or the son of, he's a guy, he went to jail. He has a checkered past. He has mental issues, but it's so contemporary as far as an everyman goes. It's stories you hear all the time. Who can't relate to having suffered through depression, or it's like, so he's a 21st century everyman. It makes so much goddamn sense. And I wish I had. This is the kind of stuff that when I listen to Lanza and I'm like, fuck, why didn't I think of that? That he's right. And I endorse that. It makes so much sense. Wrestling, the end of the weekly wrestling inspection also makes sense. Oh, guys and gals, this was a lot of fun tonight. It went a bit over, but what are you gonna do? There's so much wrestling to talk about, so much fun to have. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a good time with you. Hey, if you haven't already, give the video a like. Give the video a like. Leave a comment if you're watching this on demand as well. Let's get that streak. Let's keep it going. But I can't thank all of you enough for joining me live here on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. And I can't thank you enough for taking the time to watch it on demand or listen to all of this on your favorite podcast application. That being said, I'm not gonna stretch this one out too far. Thank you all so very much for joining me tonight. And we'll see you next time. And that's not the right outro music.